Tonight, review of the Constitution in progress with public submissions due today, and Niue met on Rainfall Watch and Climate Action Workshop. Good evening and welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Mer Satakala. Leading our news tonight, Premier Dalton Taghilangi is overseas this week, and in his absence, the Minister of Finance and Infrastructure, Honorable Crossley Tatui, is the acting Premier until Friday this week. Mr. Tofua Pulematama, member for the Makefu Village, is the temporary Minister for Central Agencies and Commercial Agencies. He will be responsible for Premier Taghilangi's portfolios. Also last week, in a new Assembly letter of invitation, Chairperson of the Constitution Review Committee, Honorable Billy Talangi, called on members of the public to submit their views and comments on 4 key areas being reviewed under the Constitution. Today was the final day for public submissions. Here's Esther Pavihi with more on this story.
The new Constitution has only been amended once before, in 1992. There was an attempt to put forth amendments in the last 17th Assembly, but that process stalled for a number of reasons, including the lack of clarity on the proposed amendments. In this 18th Assembly, the Constitution Review Committee, made up of 6 members of the Whanokepule, are tasked to engage the Constitution review process on 4 key proposed amendments presented as a motion by Premier Dalton Taghilangi to the Whanokepule last year. The 4 key review areas of the Constitution include replacing the title of the leader from Premier to Prime Minister. The second proposed change is to increase the members of Cabinet from 4 to 6 members. The third proposed amendment is to extend the term of the Assembly from 3 to 4 years, and the fourth proposed amendment seeks to remove reference to the Audit Office of New Zealand. The invitation for public submissions closed today. BCN News understands that some villages are calling for more information on the proposed amendments. There has been no public awareness campaign on the proposed constitutional changes, which is what is expected of such a significant undertaking. The 6 members of the Constitution Review Committee of the Whanokepule include 2 ministers, Honorable Crossley Tatui, Honorable Sonia Talangi, Common Role Member Sinahemana Hekau, Member for Makefu Tofua Puletama, Member for Hikutavake Ian Hipa, and the committee is chaired by Common Role Member Honorable Billy Talangi. The committee is expected to discuss the public submissions and report to the Whanokepule on the 20th of this month. Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
An early action Rainfall Watch stakeholders engagement session was held this week at Scenic Matavai Resort. The session will provide sectors managers with a brief summary of a recent rainfall patterns, particularly drought and the rainfall outlook for the next few months. Here's more on this story.
Niue Meteorological Services Director Rosie Misiepo says the product is a newsletter that they will prepare on a monthly basis.
So this is a new product that we are going to add into our Niue Climate Outlook, which is a newsletter that we prepare on a monthly basis to advise our stakeholders, communities, private sector, NGO, everyone here in Niue in terms of the weather conditions, the climate conditions, and particularly what's happening around the Pacific, how the temperatures are behaving in terms of sea surface temperature, how the cloud system are behaving in the region as well, and how it's affecting us here in Niue.
Misiepo also shared the outcome of the session.
We heard from participants how they wanted to have the product. For example, some preferred maps, some prefer the tables of the information, but at the end of the day, that'll have to come down to us as a department to decide on how we are going to come up with a final product.
Meanwhile, a Day 2 session on climate sector action and comms plan workshop was also held today.
The purpose of today's workshop is to get the stakeholders to come in and start developing sectorial plans for the key priority sectors that came out from the Niue framework on weather, climate and ocean services that was established last year. So now we have that document in place. We heard the needs from the stakeholders from last year, and this year we're going right into the sectorial level. There's a really great turnout today. So far, group discussions have been held.
Participants included members from the Fisheries, Agriculture, Health and Village Councils. A team from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia were also in attendance supporting the session.
A two-member independent consultant team is here on the island reviewing the PACER Plus agreement that came into force 3 years ago. John Bolingle and Dr. Tracy Epps have been speaking to newer PACER Plus contact points in government agencies and local businesses. PACER Plus entered into force on 13th December 2020. 10 countries are parties to the agreement: Australia, Cook Islands, Kiribati, New Zealand, Niue, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Nauru has signed the agreement but has not ratified. BCN News senior reporter Esther Pavihi spoke with John Bolingle yesterday about the purpose of their visit.
So I'm John, and I'm here with my colleague Tracy. We're independent consultants from Wellington in New Zealand, and we've been engaged to review the PACER Plus trade agreement. It's been in force for 3 years. And so we are visiting all of the Pacific parties and speaking to New Zealand and Australia, basically to find out, is PACER Plus working? Is it doing what countries expected? What sort of assistance might they need to help implement the various chapters of the agreement? And any other feedback that we can get on the agreement and the way that it is governed.
Consultant John Bolingle says they have been visiting member countries in the region in this review and are pleased with the level of awareness of the agreement with Niue local businesses, which is not always the case in other countries.
We've been really pleased by the level of awareness amongst private sector businesses here of the agreement. That isn't always the case where we've travelled around the Pacific. I think businesses here can see that the trade agreement will be beneficial for them over time. But it's very early days for PACER Plus. It's only 3 years old, and it's designed to be a 40-year project. So we're not going to see the immediate benefits of freer trade straight away. The real benefits right now are about helping countries and helping governments and businesses become ready to do more trade in the future. So we haven't seen a lot of immediate commercial benefits, but we expect that will come once government systems and businesses become more aware and more ready.
Bolingle told BCN News that one of the key challenges they heard from the consultations with Niue stakeholders is the labour force limitations, which is something PACER Plus as a trade agreement can assist with.
We've heard that a lot around the depopulation challenge, and PACER Plus can actually help countries like Niue because it allows for temporary movement of workers between Pacific Islands and from New Zealand and Australia too. There are processes to make that easier, recognising that some countries like the Solomon Islands have a lot of people looking for a job and not enough jobs, and there are other parties like Niue and others who need more people. So the PACER Plus agreement around trading services aims to make it easier for people to come from that country to the other country to fill some of those gaps. So again, over time, I would expect that to be helpful for someone like Niue. And there's already a pilot in place around aged care workers coming from the Solomon Islands, where they may have retired at the age of 50, I think. They can come here and work here and get a visa fairly quickly and come and support the health sector here in Niue.
On the issue of barriers or restrictions that are proving challenging, including the high cost of living and the access to healthy food options such as fish, fruits and vegetables from other Pacific countries, John Bolingle explains that these challenges are quite difficult structural problems for member countries, but perhaps through PACER Plus they can be addressed.
We've been really pleased by the level of awareness amongst private sector businesses here of the agreement. That isn't always the case where we've travelled around the Pacific. I think businesses here can see that the trade agreement will be beneficial for them over time, but it's very early days for PACER Plus. It's only 3 years old, and it's designed to be a 40-year project. So we're not going to see the immediate benefits of freer trade straight away. The real benefits right now are about helping countries and helping governments and businesses become ready to do more trade in the future. So we haven't seen a lot of immediate commercial benefits, but we expect that will come once government systems and businesses become more aware and more ready.
PACER Plus is a trade agreement between Australia, New Zealand and Pacific Island nations. 8 Pacific Island countries are party to this agreement: the Cook Islands, Kiribati, Niue, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga and Vanuatu. Nauru has signed but yet to ratify the agreement. The opportunity is there for other Pacific countries like Fiji and Papua New Guinea to join when their governments are ready to be a party to the PACER Plus trade agreement. Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
Visiting specialist from New Zealand, obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. Anna Marie van der Merwe is back on the island this week. She's encouraging the local women to visit them at the hospital and not to be scared to get a health check, especially by specialists in women's health. This year, Dr. van der Merwe is accompanied by New Zealand-based independent midwife Katia Benan.
Dr. Anna van der Merwe is on the island on her annual visit focused on obstetrician and gynecologist clinics and other conditions that impact women's health.
So this is our annual obstetrics and gynecology visit. I visit from counties Manukau, Te Whatu Ora, based in South Auckland. So I come every year and we mainly do clinics and discuss and manage a wider range of gynecological and obstetric conditions impacting on women's health.
Dr. Anna will be seeing about 80 to 90 patients throughout this week. Some of the most common issues faced by women on the island are heavy bleeding.
So heavy menstrual bleeding or menorrhagia, which is very common here on the island, and that's sort of the most common issue that we're seeing and treating and managing.
Overall, women's health on the island is good and the women are taking good care of themselves, but some of the more common conditions include heavy bleeding. She is encouraging women not to be scared to get a health check, especially by specialists in women's health.
I think the women have really good health and they get really good care, but I think some women have been apprehensive to come and see us because they are scared or worried, and I just want to encourage anybody who wants to come for a visit to come and make an appointment. Doesn't matter which concern, big or small, we're always happy to see and happy to help.
Meanwhile, accompanying Dr. Anna on her visit to the island is New Zealand-based independent midwife Katia Benan. Katia says she has come on this trip to see what antenatal care is like, as there is no midwife in Niue. She also mentioned that overall women are getting good antenatal care. However, the challenge is there are still a lot of high-risk pregnancies that need to be delivered in New Zealand, and that can be difficult for families, especially mothers who have children on the island that go for follow-ups back to New Zealand.
I'm an independent midwife working at Counties Manukau. I look after probably about 75 women a year in New Zealand, delivering their babies, providing antenatal care and postnatal care. And I've just joined Dr. Anna to see what the antenatal care is like on the island and how that all works, because I understand that there's no midwife on site.
She is also encouraging more young people on the island to consider midwifery as a career, as it is an amazing job to follow women through their pregnancy journey and one that is definitely needed on the island.
I definitely think that midwifery would be a great career path for someone on the island, for a young person on the island. It is an amazing job, an amazing thing to follow women right through their pregnancy, deliver their babies, follow their postnatal care, and it's definitely something that's needed on the island.
The Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, in collaboration with key stakeholders, held a validation workshop on the Green Climate Fund Regional Tuna Program that was held on Tuesday. DEF Director Poi Okesene says the workshop aims to keep stakeholders informed of the progress in developing the funding proposal for the Green Climate Fund Regional Initiative, titled Adapting Tuna-Dependent Pacific Island Communities and Economies to Climate Change.
The objective of the meeting today is to have the validation workshop in relation to the Green Climate Fund tuna proposal to cater for food security. It is a regional program, and also Niue is part of the GCF concept note that was also developed in addressing food security, and also looking at the tuna industry and also at the regional level to be able to cater for food security needs of each of the Pacific Island countries who are also part of the regional program.
The validation workshop will update all stakeholders on the current progress following the first stakeholder workshop held last year. Okesene says they are working with the Pacific Community and Conservation International in developing a concept note. The ultimate aim is to streamline a timely submission to the Green Climate Fund.
Today, working together with SPC, the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, and also Conservation International. So those are the key agencies who are working with each of the Pacific Island countries in developing the concept note that has been approved by the GCF board, and also looking at developing the project, further project proposal that will actually submit it for further approval.
U.S. Census for Population and Housing report has stated that when it comes to alcohol consumption on the island, the percentage population consuming alcohol in total increased between 1997 and 2017 and appears to have leveled off in 2022. Like smoking, women are less likely to drink compared to males. According to the report released last week, a total of 674 or 58.4% of people aged 15 years and over stated they consumed alcohol. Like smoking, drinking alcohol is more prevalent in males on 67.9% than females on 49.4%. Of those who stated they consumed alcohol, 47% claimed they rarely consume alcohol, and a further 32.3% stated they occasionally drink. And finally tonight, the Hannan International Airport car park is quickly taking shape with the removal of the island and the coconut trees giving the area more space. Contractors Downers New Zealand are working on the upgrade by sealing in sections. The upgrade of the airport car park is expected to be completed by the end of this month. And that's our news bulletin for tonight. Join us next Tuesday for our Vangahau Niue Bulletin. Until then, good evening.